Hi folks, Wooden Boat Dan here. Just wanted to record a short intro to the next segment that's coming up here in just a minute. A couple things. First of all, I've got a total of 226 hours into the boat. It's supposed to take 250 to build, but I'm going to be closer to 3 or 350. Second thing is, if you think my talking on YouTube is too slow, then tough nuggets. No, really, there's a setting as you're watching the video. If you look in the upper right hand corner, there's a little wheel. If you tap that, it'll say playback speed, and you can speed me up to 1.5 or 2 or whatever you want. I just watched my last video to kind of get an update on where I was at, and I speeded it to 1.5, and that seemed pretty good. So little tip there. And then the third thing is, if you stay till the end of this video, the last, I don't know, 4 or 5 minutes are time lapse of what I did, what I've been doing since my last video on May 24th. Anyway, that's the intro. Hope you enjoy the segment. Talk to you later. Bye-bye. Hi folks, Wooden Boat Dan here. It is, what is it? I always forget the date when I start these. August 18th, 2023. This is Peeler Skiff Build update number 13. My last video I did on May 24th of this year. And if you recall, well, actually, before I get into that, I wanted to mention that if you want to contact me, my email address is woodenboatdan@gmail.com. Also, I have a podcast called Hooked on Wooden Boats. You can find online at Stitcher, Apple Podcasts, and other podcast software places. And then also wanted to give a shout out to my grandchildren. And my grandchildren are Francis, Lois, and Ruthie, and Nora, Walter, Otto, and my newest addition in Florida is Henry. Love you guys. Glad you're watching this. Grandpa loves that. Anyway, back to the video here. So my last video was May 24th. And on that video, I had the boat flipped upside down, and I would glass the bottom and fill the glass with epoxy. And if you recall, there's up to 3 layers thick of fiberglass on the bottom, which makes it a real stealth boat. However, it's a little more time and energy to do that. And then I also installed the, what are they called? Oh my goodness. The spray rails on the side of the boat, the skids, there you go, the skids on the bottom of the boat. There's 2 skids, installed those and glassed those. So I got that all done. So since that last video, what have I been doing? Well, one thing I've been doing is bike riding. And right here is my road bike, which I love to ride. I don't know, I've maybe put 500 or 1,000 miles on this summer. And you can see, so my road bike's a red bike, and behind that is my new addition. It's a mountain bike, 29er, full suspension, specialized stump jumper. So I've been riding quite a bit this summer, which I really love doing. And also we've been doing some camping with our little trailer. So I have been working on the boat though. Since the last video I did, I've spent 40 hours, approximately 39 hours, roughly around there, working on the gunnels of this boat. And so the gunnels of this boat are fairly, I mean, I would call them kind of complex in the sense that there's 5 different layers on each side of the boat. And I'll show you here in a second what I'm talking about. But on the inside, or the gunwales, or maybe they're called innels, I'm not sure, but the gunwales of the boat, there's a spacer, a 2-inch spacer every 6 inches approximately, and I'll show you that here. So you can see these spacers. So this layer here of plywood is the hull of the boat, which is 8mm plywood. So that was already there. So I had to install these spacers first, every 6 inches. So I had to cut those out and clamp them into place, make sure they were lined up real nice. And then I had to do the gunwale here, and I'll show you a little different view of that. So this gunwale is mahogany. It's about 1/2 inch by 1.5 inches. The challenge was with that was at the ends, for instance, up here, this breast hook was a little bit wider than the gunwale. So I had to actually, you can see a real fine line here, I had to actually add a little strip there and feather this in. So that took some time. The other thing is, there's a pretty good upsweep in the shear of this boat. You can see from about here to here, the shear sweeps up quite a bit. And I could not get this mahogany without steaming it to come up that far on its own. So I added a little sliver to the top of this, and I cut off a little off the bottom so that that kind of lined up. Now I haven't sanded any of this yet, and I've got to do some filling too. So anyway, so spacers were first, and then I did the gunwale. Then next, which is what is called the whale strake, which is this piece here. So this is 8mm plywood that runs the full length of the boat. You can see from the end here, it's this piece right here. So that is puzzle jointed together. So I took that piece, and one of the things they said to make the boat look really nice is to cut a cove in it. So I cut that cove in there, which you see right here, with a router. But in order to do that and follow the curve of the boat, I had to set up a fence out of a batten, a wood batten, that matched that curve on a flat surface, and then follow that with the router. Anyway, that took time, but I think it looks really cool. And my plan is, right now, the hull is going to be painted white down to the bottom, but I think I'm going to put an accent color in this cove here, either black or green or something. So that'll really stand out sharp. So I had to install 2 of these whale strakes. And then on top of that, if you look here, for the outwale, here's the hole, here's the whale strake there. And then, let's see here, yeah. Right here is, the first outwale, and here's the second one. So those each had to be glued on separately. So if you look at the profile of this thing from the outside, this thing is a beast. Here's the whole of the boat here. Here's the whale strake, and here's 2 pieces of outwale that are mahogany. So the sides of this boat are super stiff if you look down here. Now I haven't sanded or shaped. I'm gonna shape the ends, round these off, make it look real nice, and I'm gonna shave the top of this, and I gotta do some fill here and there. So this is gonna look really cool. But I just finished these outwales. In fact, this one I just glued up to the last stretch piece last night. So this has taken me 39 hours to do that. To do the gunnels, about 20 hours per side. And you can see here, I'm using screws with little blocks, which I'm gonna take out. And I do those about every 10 or 12 inches the length, and then I do clamps in between. And the reason I do these is it keeps the board in position this way, vertically. Otherwise, when you goop this board up and you try to clamp it, it starts sliding around on you. So anyway, I got that glued up, and then here is, let's see if I can show the front profile of this thing. I'm a little bit close here with the garage door shut, but you can see the 2 outwales coming forward. And here this is actually probably a better view. But this will be cut off and rounded back and sanded, and these edges rounded over with my router. And here's the cove I'm talking about that I'm going to paint. So anyway, folks, a lot of clamping, a lot of prep work. I think the gunnels are going to come out real nice. I'm going to sand these surfaces nice and smooth. And well, the other thing I had to do was, before I installed these gunnels, the gunwale in particular, I wanted to paint behind the gunwale, so I painted just this area here after I put the blocks in, the spacers. But before I put the gunwale on, I painted, you can see here maybe, see that area that's painted under there? Maybe it's easier to see this, I don't know. I'm turning my camera upside down now, which I'm not supposed to do. Anyway, painted this space in here, just down to the bottom of the gunwale, and then I'll pick up the painting from there. But I didn't want to have to try to paint in this little space here. Now I am going to have to varnish in that space, but I think that'll be a little easier. So you can see up here, here's my my breast hook, and then here's the hull and the whale strake, and then 2 layers outside. So again, this all has to be sanded down, and then I'll be shaping this the stem nose up here. I'll probably round this off and give that a nice shape. But you can see it came out pretty good with this outer stem and the inner stem. So I'm pretty happy with that. That's a modification that I made to the boat that I really like. And the other thing I did is these frames, which are plywood, that come up from down here. You can see here. Anyway, these have little tails at the top that came through, and I cut those off because it's a pain to try to work with those things, and structurally they don't do hardly anything. So I just cut those off. So those little frames stop down there. So anyway, that's what I've been doing. Like I say, I got about 40 hours into it. I think the boat's coming along real nicely. This is a very stout boat. I'm pretty impressed with how beefy this thing is. I mean, just the shear is just like this thing is like a battleship. It's very stiff, which I think is the point, since it's a motorboat, to get it that way. So next up, I'm looking for my manual here. Next up, I'll be sanding these gunnels down and shaping those and making them look real nice. And then after that, actually the other thing I did was I tapered the outwale the last 30 inches. So if you see here, this is a full width, and then this tapers towards the front here. So it gives it a nice transition look because the whale strake is tapered up also. So it just gives it a real finished look on the front there. So that took time too. I mean, it all takes time, folks. So in my manual here, look again here. The next thing is to install these spray skirts, which are these little things right here on the side of the hull. This is the end view. Here's a picture of them installing those. Once those are installed, let's see here. You can see here, now this is with their boat flipped upside down. Anyway, those spray skirts will help keep water out of the boat when you're moving. So that's what I'll be doing next. And those will go down here along this area of the hull. And I don't know if I'll be doing, I think I'll probably be flipping the boat to do that. So I'll install those, and then I'll actually finish the final sanding of the bottom of the boat and any fairing that needs to be done. And then I'm gonna paint the bottom of the boat, folks. So, and I got my paint. I just got my paint since last time we did the video. So I ended up going with Kirby Junior Paint. This stuff is, this company's been around since the 1800s sometime, making marine paint. They use the same recipe as they used to years ago. And I got a semi-gloss paint, which is actually more like a satin, because I'm going to give the boat kind of a workboat finish. It's not going to be a high gloss, just to try something different. And I think it's going to be a little lower maintenance that way to maintain. Anyway, the idea is that the bottom of the boat will be painted a kind of a vintage green color. Nothing crazy green, just a real kind of pastel-y, nice looking green. And the sides of the boat white, and then the interior, the sides and the bottom of the interior will be a kind of a sand color, and then the seats will be green to match the bottom of the boat. So I got the paint, so I'm going to start painting. Anyway, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I think that's about it. Oh, I did build a stand for my outboard motor. You can see here. I'm going to zoom in there. So I've got the 20 horse outboard Honda. I don't know why that's blurry. I don't like that, but why is that blurry? Anyway, let's see if I can tap this. There we go. Okay. So I built this out of 2x4s, and that's got my Honda 20 on it, and that took some time. I got rid of that big thing I had on casters out here that I was rolling all my parts around, because actually now this boat is 95% assembled. The only part left to install on the boat is the spray skirts, spray rails, actually, and the center console, which I'll build after I paint the bottom and flip the boat back over. So anyway, there you have the update, folks. And after I end this conversation, I'm gonna show some time-lapse video of the process of getting the whale strikes and in whales and out whales, gunnels all complete, except for sanding. Anyway, keep the bright side up and the barnacled side down, wooden boat down, over and out. God bless.